Hey everybody, it's Blast338 coming at you live with some Phasmophobia and talking D&D with Mr. Faust. Welcome to our Tuesday night live stream, and thank you, Mr. Faust, for joining us this evening.
Oh, absolutely.
So, tonight we got something fun for you. I know it's always fun for me to think about a new character, and then one of the best parts is bringing that character to life. The steps we need to take, or the steps that you need to take to go from a sheet of paper to a fully functional D&D character.
All right, so where would we like to start? I guess should start with your race and your class. First and foremost, having an idea of what you want to play, a vision in your head of what you'd like to play. That's always the starting point for me. And you don't have to know at first what class you want to play as long as you have the vision for it. If you can imagine someone swinging a great sword that can heal their allies when they're down, you'd be talking about a paladin, but you wouldn't necessarily know that. So start with the idea and then see what class complements it.
Welcome back.
Exactly. Alrighty, so we're getting the game up and running here. I forgot to launch it before we started the stream.
No worries.
But not a big deal. So, alrighty. So we have a blank sheet of paper. We already talked about what we want to play. Okay, whether it be a paladin or a barbarian, a druid, a cleric, all that kind of fun stuff. So we decided, all right, we want to play, let's just say, a human fighter. What's the first step? Like, what do we do to get something on the sheet of paper? What's the most important thing when it comes to making a character? At least the first step.
The first step would be allocating your stats.
Alrighty, and then stats, you're talking about strength, dex, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, correct?
Yes, and should I explain those a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead and just go over those real quick. We kind of did it last stream, but unfortunately we were having some issues with our sound, and the people couldn't hear you.
So taking into account that we're playing a human fighter, I'll kind of list off the important traits as we go through this. Number one on the list of your statistics is strength. Strength dictates what you'd assume it would dictate. It's how well you hit and how hard you hit. Now, there are some skills that go along with strength, but predominantly it's going to be your attack roll and your damage roll that are predicated by this stat. Dexterity comes next. That's your grace, your nimbleness. It's also perfect for characters who want to play an archer, because you get a range bonus to attack and a range bonus to damage based off of your dexterity stat. Third up, we have constitution. This is important for every class because this, in a nutshell, is your health pool. This is going to dictate how many hits you can take and how fast you're going to go down. Those are all your physical stats right there. There are 3 of them, real easy to remember. And then you have your 3 mental stats, which I'll go through right now. Your intelligence is your knowledge of things. It's how smart you are. Not how wise you are, not how charismatic you are, but how smart you are. This is an ideal stat for wizards and artificers. 3 of them, real easy to remember. Did I cut out?
No, you're fine. I was just I apologize if you heard that. I was just checking to make sure that you were being heard on stream.
Okay, so following intelligence, we have wisdom. Wisdom is your awareness, it's your faithfulness, it's your perception, it's your instinct. All of these go into wisdom. Wisdom is the primary spellcasting ability for druids, for clerics, for paladins, Paladins are also half casters.
Now, when you say
And
half caster, not that I want to get too far off topic. What do you mean?
so your basic primary spellcasting classes have spells level 1 through 9. So over the progression of 20 levels, they get up to 9th level spells, which is the penultimate in spellcasting. It's the best you can do in D&D. Half-casters are classes that have spellcasting, but it only goes up to level 5, so it's very diminished. You can cast fewer spells per day, you don't get as many of them, and you can't use them as often, but they're still great supplemental help.
Okay. So we have our different stats. You got the wisdom. All right, so charisma.
Yes. Charisma is your force of personality. It's how you come off to other people. Charisma is often associated with deception, with persuasion, with the ability to understand people enough to be able to read them better. There are primary spellcasters for charismatic players. There are warlocks, there are sorcerers, and they both play very well. Slightly more unique than other classes, especially the warlock, but we don't need to go into that today. But those are your 6 primary stats: your strength, your dexterity, your constitution, your intelligence, your wisdom, and your charisma. And you need all of these stats for your character in D&D.
All right, so now we know what our stats do. How do we get our stats? Like, what is our first step now? So there's 2 different systems. There's point buy, and there is rolling for your stats. Which method do you like the most? And what do you recommend for like a new person to the game?
What would I recommend for a new person to the game? Okay, first I'll discuss what I prefer. The Player's Handbook, the 5th edition Player's Handbook, comes with a point buy system, meaning you have X number of points to allocate to all of your stats. And the cost for those stats gets higher as the number gets higher. So everyone at the table using that method would have a perfectly balanced character. No one would excel over anyone else. That's not the way I do things. I like a point buy system. Or not a point buy system, a rolling for stats system. What you do with this is you roll 4d6s and you drop the lowest number. So, worst case scenario, usually you won't end up with less than a 4. It's very rare to roll 4 1s. And occasionally you have the opportunity to roll an 18. So there is a balance there. It's more RNG randomized. There's not too much you can do about the outcome with that. But it's a little more daring, and I think it's a little more exciting for my players to do it that way.
I know I definitely like rolling for my stats.
There's something visceral and fun about it. Just taking that chance and seeing what you end up with. I think that's the gamble I've always enjoyed better.
Well, you know, and there's nothing wrong with point buy. But it does limit, it limits you on what your stats can be. While whatchamacallit, while rolling for your stats, you can always roll extremely high. You know,
You can.
It is amazing sometimes how high you can roll using...
I've had some...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say was you generally build higher power characters with the roll for stat system because you have access to it. You could roll 2 17s, you could roll 3 16s, and those are scores that you'd never get with a point buy system. But another house rule that I have is I give everyone an 18 to 1 stat right off the bat.
Right.
And the reason I do this is because I want my characters to feel heroic. Even if we start at level 1, I want them to have something that sets them apart from everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, starting out with an 18 on your base stat, whether it's your spellcasting modifier or strength or dexterity score, I think just makes the game more fun. Because you're supposed to be... I mean, also, I guess it also depends upon the campaign, but you're supposed to be more powerful than most of the things around you.
Exactly. My take is every human that you encounter in the world is a level 1 commoner. Meaning, at best, someone out in the world with you has 2 hit points. At best, someone out in the world with you is the greatest martial arts champion in the world. But that still doesn't equal the experience and talent that a first level character has. They have twice the hit points of an average person. They have magic at their disposal. They have physical adeptness at their disposal. They are better. They might not be heroes yet, but they are set apart from the average person. So I believe having one of those stats, even at first level, emphasizes that point, that these characters are bound for greatness.
And that's the whole idea, too, is, you know, have fun. And obviously, we can't speak for everybody. You know, there are people out there that run campaigns where it's almost you're thrown into a bad situation. You're really not that much more powerful than anything around you. And, well, you know what? Guess what? You're in a bad situation. And that could be fun as well. But I like what we run. Hey, we're feeling powerful, we're feeling strong. You know, we can take on the world. And that's pretty much that.
And I like to think that the reason you feel that way too is the way that the material that is written is presented to you. Allows for you to feel powerful. And I think that's important when playing this game. Even if you're having those really tough encounters, you're going up against bosses, mini bosses, it's good to have those smaller fights every once in a while so that you know you're powerful.
Alright, so we rolled...
Right, we got way distracted with that.
Yeah, we rolled our 3d6. So now, what do? Like, our human fighter. We maxed out our strength. We rolled really well. So let's say we rolled really well. We got our 18 for our strength score. And now we have like a couple of 14s and even a, you know, let's say we all rolled above, everything's above a 10 except for like one stat. Like let's say we rolled an 8 in one of our stats, or even a 9.
Okay.
I think honestly what we need to do too is, oh hey Sabi, how's it going? I'm sorry, did I say that right? Yeah, I remember you, man. It's good to see you. Sorry, I wasn't really paying attention to chat too great. We're just talking about character creation with D&D. So your base stats, your average everyday person is going to be a 10, correct?
Correct. Yes.
And anything above a 10, obviously your extraordinary, I'm sorry, not extraordinary, extraordinary, and anything below a 10, you get a penalty for. And it goes by 2s. So if you have a 12 in a certain stat, you get a +1, what they call a modifier. If you have an 8, you have a -1 in that stat for a modifier. And those modifiers are used in saving throws. They're used in skill checks. So if you have somebody, let's say, with a human fighter, personally, if I had an 8 in a stat that gave me a -1, I personally would either throw that into wisdom or intelligence. And that's usually what we call a dump stat. Something that is not important to that character. And you can have fun with it too. Like I used to love playing big stupid oafs. Like my barbarian with a number 6 intelligence was beautiful. He had a massive, now this is like 3rd edition, so he had a massive strength, but he was dumber than a red brick. Like you can get him to take a bath in acid. Yeah, well, when you have a -4 to or I forget
actually
exactly.
did once.
But at the same time, you look at, I don't know, you look at like some superheroes. Oh, who's the one I'm thinking of right now?
They all have flaws, fortunately.
Yeah. Oh, Homelander. Okay, you look at Homelander. That is a character. I would say he has a low wisdom. His intelligence is there, but his wisdom is low. His charisma's high, obviously high strength, high dex, and high constitution, but his wisdom is lacking. That self-control is not there.
I like the way you put that. Self-control is a huge part of wisdom. And I'd agree that he's completely lacking in that.
You get used to doing, sorry, we have somebody in chat right now here. Yeah, solo runs can definitely be unnerving at first. I actually find working with other people in this game to be more of a fear factor, because your sanity drains a lot lower with multiple people. But yeah, no, I like, and the nice thing about having a low stat in something is you can play off of that almost as easily as you can a high stat.
Oh, absolutely. If you're someone that especially loves role-playing and isn't just there for the combat, it gives you a huge opportunity to role-play a complex character.
Exactly. Alrighty.
So we have our stats.
Yep, we rolled pretty well. We have a little bit lower stat, and we're doing either wisdom or intelligence is one of our dump stats. Just something we can put our low number into, and it's not really going to affect our ability in combat.
Okay. So I'm just going to argue now for intelligence.
Okay.
Primarily because with wisdom you get perception.
Ooh.
And I think that's something all characters need.
I hear what you're saying, and you know what? You said that, and I can agree with that. I can definitely... You know what? Well, intelligence is... That's investigation.
Correct.
Right. Wisdom, you're right. It's perception.
Intuition.
Yeah.
Medicine.
That's true. There are a lot of stats there. Alrighty, I gotta do something real quick. I wish to trap the ghost. Okay. Just had to lock myself in with the ghost.
Damn. Are you playing this as a ghost?
No, I'm playing Phasmo. This way, if I need to concentrate on something, I can walk out to the truck and have a safe spot to actually have a conversation.
Okay, I was curious.
So, I thought this as a ghost would be fun because I don't have to talk to the game. But the problem is, there's no safe spot. Like, you're constantly having to be on guard. And that's why I was so distracted last week.
Makes sense.
So, alright. So we put our stats down. Now let's talk about our bonuses to stats. We did touch on it a little bit last week with talking about different races. So it used to be that
races had designated stats. So an elf, for instance, would give you a +2 to dexterity and a +1 to wisdom.
Exactly.
A half-orc would give you a +2 to strength, a +1 to constitution. So it really pigeonholed what races could be what classes, which was a huge systemic problem. Because what if you have that elf that goes out and lifts weights all day? Obviously, he's not going to have the dexterity, but he would have the strength. And that's when Wizards of the Coast did something really, really smart. Every race, regardless of what you play, has a +2 in one stat and a +1 in the other. So you can gear any race towards any class that you like. So there is no more of a restriction on what race has to be what class. Now it's any race can be any class.
Exactly, and I love that so much more than being stuck with, you know, like, if you want to play a barbarian, you need to do a half-orc, or you need to do a dragonborn. Well, you know, what if I just have a really angry halfling? You know, I know, and I like the silly characters too.
You do.
And as long as they're done well, and again, you're not interfering with anybody else's enjoyment of the game, it doesn't hurt anything.
No, it actually adds a lot of levity to the game, because even in serious campaigns, you need those characters that break the tension. It's so important to have a character to break the tension, because in D&D it can really build really quickly.
Yes, you get into a situation where, and we do this a lot too, we get into situations where your character's life is on the line. Like, if this goes sideways, there's really not much you're going to be able to do. And some of that, well, the majority of that is definitely our own doing. Because we have certain players that, well, they're slowly learning.
Right.
They're slowly learning that you can't just say what you want when you want to whoever you want. There are consequences for your actions. And I believe I heard that person laugh in the background.
Always consequences to your actions. And I don't even mean that in a bad way. Consequence is just something that happens because the players took an action. They decided to do something with their characters. Consequences can be good and they can be bad, but you've got to keep those consequences coming. Because that's what keeps the game going forward.
All right, so we keep getting sidetracked here. We got our stats. We got them written down. We picked where we're putting our pluses. We're taking our 18, we're making it a 20, putting it into strength. We're taking our +1, putting it into our dexterity score for a better, initiative roll, and
potentially armor class.
Well, yeah. So that's the other thing, is starting equipment. Each class has its own list of starting equipment. Generally, the classes where you wear armor, your fighters, I'm sorry?
Paladins.
Exactly. Fighters, paladins, even druids get access to leather armor. Things like that. So you pick your starting equipment. So we're doing a human fighter. We get access to chainmail, a shield. We can do a long sword, or pretty much any martial weapon, correct?
Correct.
Now, there's different weapon classes. A fighter obviously is proficient in pretty much anything he wields. You know, there's no limit to what he can really use.
No.
Which is nice.
No, they're a very user-friendly class that way.
So we picked out our armor. Now, we talked about chainmail. So armor, there's different types of armor. You have light armor, you have heavy armor, you have medium armor. So each of those have their own individual benefits and disadvantages. So the nice thing about heavy armor is obviously you're starting at a much higher armor class, so it's more difficult to hit you. Now, the disadvantage to heavy armor, especially chainmail, is you basically suck at stealth. Like, you are not going to be sneaky. You're not going to be a rogue walking around in chainmail armor and expect to be successful.
No, not at all.
Uh, now, let's say you went a different way with your fighter, and instead of going as a strength-based fighter, you went dexterity route. So you're using, let's say, a rapier. You might want to go for something more along the lines of like medium armor, because that's going to give you a +2 based on your dexterity score. Or even light armor. You can add your entire dexterity modifier to your armor class. So yeah, your starting stat is a little bit lower. Like leather armor, I think is what, an AC of 14? Correct me
I
if
think
I'm
it's
wrong.
13 plus dex.
Okay, 13 plus dex. So if you have, through your ability score increases, you have a 20 in dex. You said 13, correct? 13 plus dex.
So, yes.
So 13.
Studded
5,
leather is
6.
14.
Okay. So yeah, you can have that higher armor class. You can have a 19 armor class, and that's before you add a shield, which gives you a +2.
And let me tell you, starting off the game with an armor class of 21 is phenomenal.
Yeah, good luck getting hit. Well, even not starting out, like you can, because the fighter gets something crazy, like what is it, 6 ability score increases?
Yes. In addition to the typical 4.
Yeah. Actually, I think they might even get one more than that.
I'd have to get out my player's handbook. Maybe I should have it out right now.
I was going to grab mine, but I ran out of time.
Ah. See, I'm wandering around the house.
Yeah, I'm kind of tied to a desk right now.
I know.
But yeah, you have... Well, even if you're not talking... Hey, Tiger, how's it going, man?
Hey, Tiger.
Yeah, Siberian Tiger just joined us.
Welcome.
What ghost is it? It's between a poltergeist, demon, or myling. Right now I'm thinking myling, just because it's not really throwing much, and there's lots of stuff here for a poltergeist to throw, and we haven't been hunted by a demon yet. Where are you? Where are you? Are you back here? I don't know where you're at. Okay, well, we missed that ghost event. But even if we're going like a cleric, unless you're doing like a war cleric or what is that, what's that one that what is it, something the light,
Oh, the light domain.
light domain, that gives you access to heavy armor, doesn't it?
I believe Forge domain does.
Yes, Forge domain does. That's definite. In fact, you can even make that magical. You can give yourself a +1 to your armor class.
You can.
So that's absolutely phenomenal. Yeah,
So we have armor down.
Yep, we picked our
for the most
armor
part.
out. We pick our weapon now. So, weapons. We have a
Really,
multiple...
it comes down to what you want to do with them. Because almost any medieval weapon you can think of, D&D has a counterpart for it.
You know, I always liked a cleric with a big warhammer. And the other thing I like about a warhammer is you can do... What's the word they use for that? You can wield that. It's
Versatile.
Versatile, yes. Where you can wield it with one hand or two hands, and if you wield it with two hands, it does more damage. If you wield it with one hand, you're a D8. If you wield it with two, you're a D10 for your damage rolls. And obviously, you know, the higher the die, the better chance you have of causing damage.
Yeah, Warhammer is a pretty cool one. For me, I always keep it pretty basic. If I'm playing a defender, it's always sword and shield for me. I always go with the sword. Not sure why. One of these days I'll go with an axe, but that is not today. Or I go with a great weapon, which is a two-handed weapon, and I typically prefer the greatsword. But there are some two-handed weapons that you can use that allow you to have something called reach.
Yes.
And what reach is the ability to attack a target an extra 5 feet away from you. So your normal range is within 5 feet. That's a 1x1 cube, within 5 feet of you. With a reach weapon, you can hit creatures 10 feet away from you, which is great when they're trying to close in.
Yeah, being able to use a spear or a polearm, something like that to keep your enemies at bay, you know, keep out of their 5-foot reach, and deal a good amount of damage is really good. And there's also a couple of feats that go very well with those weapons. So we got our starting equipment. We picked out our Dungeoneer's pack. We picked out our weapon, you know, just a simple long sword. We got our armor. We got our shield. Where do we go from here? What is our next step?
The next step is to choose a background for our character. And this is where the roleplay element really starts coming into it.
And there are a lot of backgrounds. And there's a lot of really good backgrounds too. One of the best places to look, obviously your player's handbook is going to have your basics. It's going to have your street urchin. If you're playing a campaign where you're in a lot of towns, a lot of cities, that is definitely something you're going to want to play. And I think we got a little far. One of the things I think also is whatchamacallit is skills.
Which we can actually tie into the backstories, because backstories give you extra skills. So let's talk about skills.
I died. I ran right into him.
Oh, Jesus.
He turned all the lights out as I lit the summoning circle, and I couldn't see him to loop.
Well, that's a clever ghost.
Yeah. Clever girl. Clever girl. So we have our skills, and each class is going to come with different skills. So, our fighter is going to come with, You get to pick 2 skills out of usually 6 they have to pick from.
Unless you're a rogue.
Or a bard.
Or a bard.
Oh, you know what? I got my PhD
Actually,
right here.
bards only pick 2. Oh no, that's barbarian.
Yeah. Well, bards get to pick, I think, 2 of anything they want.
Not at first.
Yeah, when you're creating a character, it just says pick 2.
So it does. So it does. Well, the bard is the only class that can do that.
Yep.
Because not even a rogue has that ability.
Oh, wow.
But they do choose 4 skills to start.
Oh, it's 3. Bards are
Yes,
actually
3 of any type.
Yep, choose 3.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
And rogues are 4 from their skill list.
And they also have... You also have proficiency modifiers, and you're proficient with different saves. So we'll get into that in a little bit. So let's talk about skills. And you did talk about them a little bit when we were going over what the stats are. So you have, like we talked about, perception being tied to wisdom.
Right.
Investigation's tied to intelligence. Animal handling is tied to charisma. That type of thing.
Correct. So let's take a look at the fighter, as a for instance. They have their own set of skills. So every class except the bard is going to have a set of skills that you choose from. So under the skills section in the player's handbook, it reads, choose 2 skills from, and then it gives you a list. Acrobatics, which is strength. Animal handling, which is strength. Athletics, which is dexterity. History, which is intelligence. Insight, which is wisdom. Intimidation, which is charisma. Perception, which is wisdom. And survival, which is wisdom. So just by looking at it, you can see they're almost pointing you in the direction of strength and wisdom at that point. So you never want to make wisdom your dump stat, if you can help it, when playing a competent fighter, because you want that perception and you want that insight.
Right. Yeah, perception's important. You know, you can... People sneaking up on you. It's a counter to stealth. So if somebody's trying to be sneaky and you have a high perception, well, guess what? You just saw them. They can't ambush you. So out of the ones that are listed there, what would be, in your opinion, what are 2 good skills for a fighter?
Well, I would absolutely take athletics, because that allows you to perform feats of athleticism. This is climbing a rope, which sounds mundane, but sucks if you fail on your 40-foot check. It allows you to... Yeah, only a little bit. It allows you to launch yourself over chasms, for instance, with a long jump. It allows for a lot of things that only a fighter is able to do. Physical feats of strength, such as knocking down a door, breaking open a lock. These are all things that a fighter can do. My other skill of choice would be perception, 100%. Your passive perception score, and that's just your base 10 plus your wisdom modifier, is always going to alert you as to what's going on in the world around you. So if someone's trying to sneak past you and they can't roll high enough, you're going to see them without ever having to make a roll.
Yep, and there are ways to really get that passive perception up to incredible numbers. There are magic items like the Robe of Eyes, and just rolling well for stats, skills, different things of that nature to really bump. I think there's even a feat that really kind of bumps that passive perception through the roof.
So it's an important element of any character, in my opinion. In the whole game, I would say this is the single most important stat. Or skill, rather.
Yeah, it's definitely a good thing to have a high wisdom for that good perception. Okay.
So now we have our skills.
Well, we have
and there
two
are
of our
more.
skills.
We have 2 of our skills, but here's where the background comes in.
So yeah, like we said, there's many different backgrounds.
There are innumerable backgrounds. It's absurd just how many there are, but I'm glad there are that many, because if you're having trouble with a concept for your character, these can really help you out.
Agreed. There's a lot of, even sometimes for inspiration, I know Little Pooper's done it. He's looked through the different backgrounds just to get an idea of what he wants to play.
And that's perfect.
You know, he found like the not the character he's currently playing, the one before. He really liked that haunted background. You know, it just kind of spoke to him, and he was like, this is really cool. I want to play this. And I'm like, do it, dude. Like, seriously. That's what you want to play, go for it. So yeah, the backgrounds, there's lots of them. There's everything from a street urchin, a hermit, to you're basically higher class. Like, you know, you've never known poverty in your entire life. You know, you're a wizard's apprentice. You worked for a thieves guild. You know, whether you're a vendor or you're making jewelry or all kinds of different things. There's just so much there, and honestly, we can't go over all of them. One of the best resources is Wiki. If you just type in, you know, D&D 5e backgrounds, and look for the Wiki, there is just so much stuff there. And they also have the Unearthed Arcana, which is stuff that's kind of up and coming. And
you may let you play test.
Exactly. Now, obviously, you know, check with your DM before playing something that's unplay tested. And kind of go over with them just to make sure it's not too broken. Obviously, we don't want to spoil anybody's good time.
No, I mean, you managed to break the game within the rules of the game, so anything is possible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't try nearly as much as you may think.
No, I know that. I'm just messing with you.
But there are ways to get some pretty good damage combos.
There are. And if you read between the, not between the rules, but just between the lines of what the rules actually say, there are exquisite ways that you can create damage outputs, that you can create overwhelming defense, that you can create non-stop spellcasters. The sky really is the limit with D&D. They leave it open enough to interpretation where you can do just about anything you want to do.
Yeah. It is definitely a game that has something for everybody, I think. We've had people in our party that, like, never thought in a million years they would like the game. You know?
Oh, we've had a lot of those.
And yeah, they get just as bad as the rest of us when it comes to buying dice and everything else.
Dice towers. Oh, that new dice tower.
That is absolutely awesome.
For anyone that's really lost right now, a good friend of ours, Mr. B, got a Christmas gift. And it was the gargoyle from the first printed, first edition D&D campaign. And it was that gargoyle as a dice tower that's about 12 inches tall, just as wide, and works pretty well.
It does. It's impressive too. I mean, it's a nice size. It's not too big to take up like the entire table. But it's good enough to get a good roll, and the fire that's in the pot even lights up, which is so much fun. It looks amazing.
That's pretty awesome.
It really does. I think it looks absolutely amazing. They did an absolutely fantastic job. Oh yeah. Yeah, totally.
Okay, so we're talking backgrounds because we keep getting distracted.
Yes. Backgrounds.
Backgrounds are important not only because they help with your roleplay, but they give you perks. These perks include a perk that's relevant to that background. So if you were in a Thieves Guild, for instance, you'd have a contact still in that Thieves Guild that you could call upon when you're in that city or town.
Right.
But another perk it gives you is 2 skills. 2 additional skills to go along with your class. You were gonna say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, yes, you have your contact, and basically you can, you need a place to stay, or you need to get something identified, or you're tasked to steal an object. They might have the plans to, think of like John Wick when he goes to Rome. He goes to the tailor to get the bulletproof suit. He goes to the armorer and gets different weapons. He goes to the map guy and gets a map of the underground to where his target's going to be. That's the kind of stuff you can do with that, like, Thieves Guild background.
Absolutely. It's pretty cool too, because all these backgrounds come with a similar perk. The noble background, for instance, gives you a vassal. Think of a squire. Someone who follows you around, does odd jobs for you, takes care of mundane tasks. They all come with something that you can use in a roleplay fashion that actually helps the mechanics of the game as well.
Yeah, there is a lot you can do with backgrounds. And of course, you can always make your own. Work with your dungeon master, work with the person who's running the game, and nothing wrong with making your own. A lot of good stuff out there, and sometimes it's just fun. And you're just basically using the background to get that extra 2 skills. Or if, the skills make sense to your character to play, most of the time, I know
Talk to your DM.
Yeah, you're usually okay with us playing it. There's absolutely no...
There isn't a good reason for your DM to say no. In this instance, if you're playing the character that you want to be playing, and what I mean by that is, you've made your character, let's say, you talk to your DM about a background that you have. This is the history for your character. This is what your character has been through. These are their loves. These are their interests. These are their fears. These are their flaws. You've gone through all this with the DM. And you recommend 2 skills that your character would have picked up throughout the course of those experiences. No DM of my understanding would say no.
Exactly.
Because you've devised the backstory. You've done your research on it. You know who your character is. There's no good reason to deny that person 2 skills of their choice unless you are 100% committed to every rule in the book, which I highly disbelieve. Or you're just an asshole. Well, there's no other explanation.
Yeah, we talked about it before too. The rule of cool.
The rule of cool.
It's a long-standing.
It's a collaborative.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's a long-standing unwritten rule. It's if your character or your table or your group wants to do something, and it's not specifically stated in the rules that you can do that thing, who cares? If it doesn't hurt anything to have them jump across the road from one tree to another and do this awesome ninja move
into the ground.
Who cares? Let them do it. It's not going to hurt anything.
I'm a huge fan of the rule of cool. Unless it seems entirely so far out there, I couldn't believe it, even in a fantasy setting. Generally, I allow it because D&D is a collaborative storytelling game with emphasis on collaborative. It's not the DM and the players working against each other. It's not the DM trying to kill the players. It's everyone telling a story. And as a DM, I want that story to look cool too. Like, I want my players to feel like they can do amazing things. Because most of us don't get that throughout our work week.
Exactly. It's made for something to sit around a table, chat with friends, blow off a little bit of steam. It is... How many times have I asked you, can you make a character with this person's name and just let me throw them off a cliff? It's usually one very specific person.
It's usually one very specific person.
But yeah, I really just need to do this for my own sanity. Can you please make it happen? And you're usually pretty good about it. You used it against me one time.
Welcome back. There's some jobs ready for you.
Well, that was just to keep you in your place, but...
I forgot the bone. Oh, darn it. Alright, so we got our background picked out. We got our 2 other skills. Now we have saving throws. So when
You have saving throws.
somebody uses a spell against us, somebody is trying to, well, I guess that wouldn't really count. Somebody trying to sneak, that wouldn't be a saving throw. That's a skill check. So somebody casts
Perception
fireball.
check.
Right. Somebody casts fireball, and now I need to make a dex save. Is my fighter proficient in dex?
That's a really good question. I'm about to look up right now.
I know it's strength.
And Constitution.
Yes. So along with your stats, your strength, your dexterity, your constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, you have what's called a proficiency modifier. And that number goes up every so many levels. So your proficiency modifier is a +2 up until 5th level, then it goes to 3, 9th level's 4, 11th level, or 13th level, I'm sorry. I'm reading in the dark here. 13th level's +5, and then all the way up to 17th through 20th is +6. And when you gain proficiency with a skill or a save, you add that modifier to whatever you're rolling for. So we chose athletics as one of our proficiencies, what we're proficient in. So when we want to go climb that rope or climb a cliff, we can get a very small bonus to that skill. And again, that's separating that character from the rest of the pack. So you have, let's say, a druid. Well, a druid's not going to take athletics as a proficiency because they want to climb a cliff. Well, guess what? They're going to turn into a giant spider and walk up the cliff, or they're going to turn into a bird and fly. Or they turn into an earth elemental, mold into the cliff, and then boom, they're at the top of the cliff.
Pretty much, yep.
You know, I think they have like a burrowing speed of like 60 feet. It's incredible. But so that fighter who's now climbing that rope while the rest of his group is either flying, jumping, or using magic, you know, he's able to get to the top of that cliff using the rope without much problems. Or if you have another person who's tagging along and they're not proficient in athletics, they're going to have a little bit harder time climbing that rope. So when we're picking skills, you're picking what skills you're proficient in. So you have all of the different skills. Anybody can handle animals. Anybody can try to pickpocket somebody with sleight of hand. However, if you're not proficient in that skill, you're not generally going to be very good at it. Like my one character, he was all about pickpocketing. Like I had, let's see here, my dexterity score was maxed out, so I had a +5. We were high enough level to have the +6 to our as our proficiency modifier, and he was a bard, so he got to double his proficiency score in sleight of hand, which is pickpocketing. So he had a +12, +5, so a +17, and then he got his hands on a set of what are those gloves called? They were
sleight of hand.
Yeah, magic gloves, something sleight of hand, and he had a plus. It was some. Oh, he got another 5 with those gloves on. So 12, that was
Yeah.
17, 18, 19, 20, 21. A plus 22 to pickpocket somebody. He was walking up to bad guys before combat and stealing their sword, stealing their pistol out of their holster. Um, we're meeting new people on the street and he's going through their pockets just to see what they have on them, to see what their intentions maybe are. And they have no idea what's going on, because when you have a plus 22 and you roll a 10, well, that's a 32. And to get a perception above, to get above a 20, even on perception sometimes, is difficult. And that's just rolling a 10. A lot of times you roll a natural 20, which doesn't really count for skill checks and stuff. It's not an automatic success. But now you have a 42? Yeah, I don't care who you are. Nobody's seeing that unless there's some type of god. So when he talks about me breaking the game, yeah.
You know how to break the game, but you don't do it, excuse me, in ways that are difficult for me. I will admit that when you first started using silvery barbs, I had feelings.
But I have to be honest with you, I love and hate that spell as well.
How's that?
Well, I mean, it's a risk and reward thing. Okay, we have a character that we're fighting something that we know has high stats, something that's hitting high ACs consistently. It's making saves. I mean, yes, there's always that chance for you to roll a nat 1 or even a 2 or something, roll very low so that polymorph spell actually works. Or that critical you just scored now is a normal hit or misses completely. That's huge. When we can take a critical away, that anytime we can reduce the amount of damage taken to a character is always a good thing. And I know me personally as a player, I actually like taking the opportunity away from you. I like shutting down the bad guy. I've said it once, I've said it a million times. Stop, drop, shut them down, open up shop. You're using Hold Person, Hold Beast, Crown of Madness, Charm. Our cleric in this campaign that we're playing now is doing a fantastic job with whatchamacallit. What is it? Curse or something. Or no, that's Mr. B using Curse. So now you have to roll. You have to roll a Wisdom save before you can actually attack. What's that one spell that clerics have, where you have to roll a Wisdom save in order to be attacked? Sanctuary. That type of stuff. Whenever you can reduce the amount of actions that the bad guy can take, is always a good thing. And in some ways, that actually does more than if I were to hit them with a damaging spell. You get something that's hitting consistently for 30, 40 points of damage, and I do a firebolt, let's say, and I scored 15 hit points. Well, you know what? Reducing the damage that we've just taken by 30 is a lot more effective than hitting him for 15, especially when I have two big heavy-handed hitters that are literally going just behind me or just ahead of me.
That's
So
just it. Go ahead.
no, I was. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say D&D comes down to something they call action economy.
Very much so.
In combat, action economy is the number of the players get versus the number of actions that the bad guys get. So reducing the enemy's action economy, or as Blast would say, making it more difficult for me to act or do anything, puts you at a huge advantage because you're mitigating that damage taken. You're keeping more players up on the field. You're maximizing your chances by limiting what the villain can do.
Exactly. Yeah, if we can, stop that bad guy from hitting, especially for multiple rounds, like hold person, when you have a high DC. So getting back into character creation. So we have our skills picked out. We have what we want for equipment. We have our background picked out. So what do we do now? What's our next step? Sounds like to me like we're pretty well set to go.
Well set to go. All we have to do now is look over our first level abilities.
Okay.
So every class, when you start out, come with their own abilities. These abilities are what define the class the rest of the way through. They kind of make the class what it is. And there are usually a few abilities that come with it when you first start out, but we'll talk about the fighter because that's what we're doing right now. At first level, the fighters have the ability Fighting Style and Second Wind. Fighting Style is really cool to me. I love this aspect of it. I like that the next gen of D&D is going to have these on weapons.
That is
so
huge.
It will be huge. I love what they did with it that way. Druids, not so much, but the weapon specifics, absolutely. So, as a for instance, you have archery as a fighting style. You gain a +2 bonus to attack rolls you make with ranged weapons. So, that's just a perk you get for being a part of this class. Trying to put something into words, I can't quite do it. Every one of these fighting styles gives you something pretty awesome, like 2-weapon fighting, for instance. When you engage in 2-weapon fighting, you can add your ability modifier to the damage of the second attack. So essentially what you're doing is picking up 25% of your attack and adding it. And that's, again, just a for instance. These are just a few of the many fighting styles that you have available to you. But this is not my favorite part of the fighter class. I think it's awesome. And again, I love that weapons are going to come equipped with it. But it's an ability called Second Wind. Mac, this is... or Blast, this is one of my favorite elements of the fighter class.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Second Wind is huge. That can really make the difference between on your feet or laying on the grave.
I mean, it's a 1d10 plus your strength modifier, so... Or no, plus your fighter level, actually, which can absolutely keep you on your feet, especially when you're close to death. a general rule in D&D, at least in 5th edition, is if someone drops down to 0 hit points during combat, you do not bring them up until combat is over. Combats don't usually last more than 3 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, you're just as effective at 1 hit point as if you're just as effective at 1 as you are in 50. So there's really absolutely no reason to heal somebody until they're down. Now, there are times where, well, I'm sorry, what did... Oh, I am so lost in my own head here. What was that you said about bringing people up?
Oh, it's in 5th edition, at least. You don't usually bring someone up until after combat ends.
Well, that's not necessarily true. We've done...
Actually, with this campaign, you've done it a lot more. Because you have a little more healing capacity in the party right now.
Yeah, and there's different, like, clerics have different healing spells. Druids have a lot of healing spells. There are...
Lay on hands.
Lay on hands, yeah, paladin ability. That is huge, and it's easy to what's the word I want to use here? I honestly can't think right now. I just lost my entire train of thought for some reason.
It happens.
Especially, well, it's easy to heal somebody and bring somebody back up when it's a bonus action. I'm trying to think who can heal as a bonus action. I can't remember off the top of my head. I know.
I believe there's a type of cleric that can do it.
Yeah, so I mean, there's... I'm trying to think.
There are definitely...
We have brought Hudson up, or Little Pooper up, so many different times.
Yeah, you actually have.
Well, generally, the reason we're doing that is because he's one of our big heavy hitters. And we need him to be up. I know we used health potions. We've done that in the past. I know our cleric has used like healing word on him.
Mass healing.
Yeah, we've used a bunch of
a lot of different types of healing to get him up.
And mostly because he's the one dealing the most amount of damage. So yeah, there are times we have brought people up that were downed. There's been a lot of times where we haven't. You're absolutely right. You know, they just kind of lay there. And that really... Sometimes as a player, as a character, that sucks. When the rest of the crew is beating something up and you're just kind of sitting there. But so is the game, you know?
Now, as a DM, and I've actually seen so many videos on TikTok about this, the different arguments going back and forth. I never actively try and kill you guys. Because I don't want you to die, because I like the story, because I like the time that you put into your characters. I, as a DM, don't actively try and kill you. Sometimes that means fudging rolls. But as a DM, I do that because I don't believe that would lead to a great story unless someone wanted to sacrifice themselves.
And there have been times where we've done that.
There have been times. Yeah, there have been several times. That's usually how it goes. Be it at the end of a campaign when everyone realizes it's time to start over and ritualistically suicides into a sphere of annihilation, or...
That was not intentional. I tried to push the halfling in first.
But no, I've gotten the players down plenty of times, and I think that's realistic in any kind of combat setting. But I never try and actively kill my players because I don't want to ruin the experience. And I'm apparently not uncommon in this. There are a lot of DMs out there that feel the same way.
No, I think killing off your character, just to kill off your character, is not a good thing. Now we have killed off was Little Pooper's character, but that was because he wasn't having fun with what he was playing, and we had a new character made and ready for him to play. Fast. Come on, run.
Fast.
We are so dead. We are so dead. No, 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 no. Damn it, we're dead. Sorry. Yeah, we killed off Little Pooper's character because he just wasn't having fun. The character itself, I don't want to say was too complicated for him to play. It was a it was a Haunted. It was a rogue, or not a rogue, a warlock bard multi-class, and it involved a lot of, you have to play the character this way in order for it to be effective. Like, you have to cast this spell, you have to attack in this manner, you have to do this, you have to do that. Otherwise the character kind of fell apart and you really wouldn't do a lot of damage. So he wasn't having fun. So yeah, we got together, discussed it, and we made him a new character. It was a Path of the Giants. Path of the Giants barbarian. And he had an amazing time with that character. In fact, it was probably one of the best ones you've ever played. He's sitting here next to me shaking his head up and down, yes. But yeah, he also got to play with one of the new races, the Plasmoid, which I think is fun. I think a Plasmoid druid would be something very interesting.
These creatures.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said morphing into gelatinous creatures.
Exactly. You know, I kind of like that. I think that could be a lot of fun. But yeah, so we picked our race, we picked our class, we picked our skills, our starting equipment, we have our background, and yeah, we're pretty much good to go at this point, right? We have our saves, so we're ready to. We got everything filled out. All we need now is a group.
And I know Dimension 20, I think, has a lot of open availability for groups.
Yeah, I mean, check out online. Go to your local game shop or your geek or nerd store. I'm sure they have. Normally they have tables open for people to play. They might know of somebody. Hey, we're looking for people to play D&D with. Somebody comes in asking about it. Here, give them my card. That type of thing. So there's a lot of great resources. Roll20.net is a great resource, and yeah, I mean it's an absolutely terrific game. I highly recommend at least trying it. Character creation can be, or at least seem a little complicated at first. Your first couple characters, like I said before, are always going to be broken. There's just no way around it. You're going to put your stats in the wrong places. You're going to be missing abilities. You're going to be missing even some basic stuff from like your subclasses. And that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as you're having fun and everyone else around you is also having fun, that's all that matters. And if you really play with somebody who's experienced, they're going to help you and walk you through a lot of that. Hopefully in a positive way to reinforce knowledge. So I know we're getting down to the wire here. 8:26. Any last words of wisdom for us?
Not wisdom necessarily, just put yourself out there. Check out gaming stores. Give people your name. Give people your number. Be willing to experience it at least one time, because, I mean, for me, it absolutely has changed my life. And maybe it'll do the same for you in more ways than you realize. So definitely check it out. Thanks.
And Mr. Faust, you also have a TikTok, correct? Where you're posting like D&D tips and fun stuff like that. How do people find you?
Do that this week. The name is Jason DM. Not hard to find. No underscores. But yeah, I'm gonna start posting D&D tips, hints, just knowledge, really. Maybe a little bit of lore. But yeah, check me out.
All right, yeah, you heard that, guys. Head over there, check him out, give him a follow. Some good stuff. And yeah, join us next week. Like I said, we're doing this every Tuesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, New York City time. And we're going to go for, about an hour and a half or so. And just talk D&D. If you have any questions, please post them in chat if you join us. You can post them on any of my videos, and we'll get to them when we do our Tuesday night live stream. So thank you a lot, Mr. Faust, for joining us. That was a lot of fun tonight.
That was a lot of fun.
I do enjoy the chats that we have. And yeah, we're going to have something fun for you next week. I don't want to quite ruin it just yet, but you'll find out here shortly. So keep an eye out for my videos, Blast338. Head over to Mr. Faust's TikTok. Jason the space DM on TikTok. And check his stuff out. Give him a follow, give him a like, and I'm sure he'd like a few comments too.
Sounds good. Thanks, Blast.
All right. Yep. We'll see you next week. All righty. Well, that was a lot of fun. I very much enjoyed tonight. I have a few people here that's been in chat. Always fun. Good to see you guys. How are the ghosties treating me? They're okay. Always a little bit distracted when we're talking D&D. Like I should have saw that was a Hantu, but I was too busy running away instead of looking at it. Usually we can get it trapped on the other side of the campfire, but weren't so lucky tonight. But that's alright. I should have known something was up, but it was really, really fast. So, alright, so we got one viewer still on. I'm going to play for a little, well, let's see here. It's 8:30. You know what? Actually, I think this is a good time to say goodnight. I do want to talk about some of the updates. If you've been watching the stream, you might have noticed, I think the graphics look a whole lot better now. They redid the lighting. The Christmas event's gone. They put in, let's see here, video. So they added eye adaptation. This is really cool. So if you're in a dark room, your eyes adjust to the darkness, which is kind of cool, so you can see better in the dark. Screen space illumination. I'm guessing that kind of fixed all the shadows and stuff. These maps have been looking really good since they put that in today. So we got that all turned on and high. We still have all of our other settings here set to what we had before. But yeah, well, hey, stay tuned. If you like the video, go ahead and give it a like. There we go. I always get our closing out music confused with our intro stuff. But hey, thanks so much for watching. If you liked the video, go ahead and give it a like. Like I said, every Tuesday night we're going to be doing Talking D&D while playing Phasmo. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. If you're interested in D&D at all, if you have any questions, comments, things of that nature, please put them down in chat. You could also post them in the comments to my videos throughout the week. So we will address those every Tuesday. I'm still doing my Thursday night live stream, and that's just straight up Phasmophobia. And then Saturday, I'm hoping to start doing a live stream around noontime Eastern Standard Time. So I know a few of you guys over in the UK, over across the pond, would hopefully be able to watch it at a more reasonable hour. So, hey, thanks for joining me. I had a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys did too. And if you're not subscribed, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. As you know, we are trying to grow this channel, and I need your guys' help to do it. And the best way to do that is to tell your neighbors, tell your friends, and shout it from the rooftops. Like, comment, and subscribe to Blast338. Have a great time, and we'll see you at the next video. Peace.